Hey everyone, hope you're having a good week. This is gonna be part 3 of Purified Faith. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts, make sure you do so. I want to continue talking this week about how God uses different trials and challenges in our lives, different fires, so to say, that He brings into our life to make us better, to help us grow in faith, and to draw us closer to Him. And this week I want to share with you from a few verses from James, the letter of James, starting at James 1 verse 2. James starts here saying, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers." And so, well, when you read that, you're like, okay, awesome. Something great is going to come, something encouraging, something amazing. James, what are we going to rejoice in? He says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds." Trials, James? How do we rejoice in trials? Well, he knew we were going to ask that question, because in verse 3 he continues, "Because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That man should not think he will receive anything from the Lord." So James is saying we should rejoice in various trials. And why? Because it is the testing of our faith, and it produces perseverance. So eventually we will be mature and we will not be lacking anything. I don't think James is saying that we should be looking for different trials and challenges into our life. As well as that, I don't think he's saying we shouldn't grieve when we experience loss or difficulties. No, there's space for that. But I think with saying that when James says consider it pure joy, I think he is encouraging us also to see the opportunity, to see the positive side, even in the midst of difficulties. Like last week I shared, it's easy to say when life is good, that we say like, hey, God is good, it's awesome. But in the midst of trials, I think it's our truth faith, if we believe that God is good, if we believe that God is really who he says that he is in the Bible, that's tested and that's revealed in the midst of trials. And so when he continues to talk that if we miss anything, if we lack wisdom, we can ask God in the midst of our difficulties, we can ask him to give us wisdom, to help us. But when we ask God, we should not be doubting, but we should actually be full of faith. We should not doubt that God is actually far away. We shouldn't start doubting whether God is actually good, but no, we are to hold on to God's goodness, because that's how we will come to him. That's how we will actually approach him, and that's the way we will be expecting from him. Because James is saying the person who doubts that God is actually with him, that God is good, is like the wave of the sea. And if you've seen waves and if you've been in the sea, you know that the waves come and go, and you've actually no clue how they're going and which is going where. And if you're floating on the sea, the one moment you're going offshore, the other moment you're pushed back. The waves are unpredictable. And the same is if we are in the midst of our trials, and we do not hold on to who God truly is. We are also taken just by the wave of our emotions, by the waves of our circumstances. And so I think each one of us in our journey of faith, myself as well, at some point we need to make a decision to say like, I'm going to believe that God is good. No matter what my circumstances will tell me, no matter what the questions in my head will say, no matter what my feelings will be saying who God is, I'm going to believe that God is who he says he is in his word, that he is good, that he is love, that he will never leave me nor forsake me, even in the midst of difficulties. Because that's going to be the anchor we can hold on to in the midst of the waves, in the midst of the difficulties. And you know, like it's not it's not when the wave is coming, it's not in the midst of the storm that we need to start holding on to that anchor, that we need to make that decision. No, actually, the decision that our faith in God is not dependent on a circumstance is a decision we need to make right now. It's before the wave comes that we need to hold on to something. It's before the storm comes that we need to hold on to him, because that's the only way that we can continue standing in the midst of our difficulties, in the midst of our trials. And so James is saying, consider it pure joy when you face various kinds of trials. Why? Because actually in those trials you can see how fast you're actually holding on to the goodness of God. And either this is going to be a source of encouragement to see that you are deeply rooted in your beliefs, in your faith, or this is going to be an opportunity, like the alcohol gel pointed out, the little wound in your hand. It's going to be an opportunity to say, God, I have a little wound in my faith. Will you come and heal me? Will you come and strengthen me? And he who asks and does not doubt will be sure that God will give him the wisdom that's needed. So I hope this encourages you. I hope this will help you as well to see perspective in your trials and see that this is a new opportunity to hold on to God. And I just want to encourage you as well. If you have doubts, don't be discouraged. Everyone has had their doubts, but use them as an opportunity to surrender more to God, to invite God into the doubts that you have and ask Him for faith. Faith is not something that we need to stir up ourselves and work hard for. Faith is not trying to just deny and push down your emotions. No, it's saying like, okay, I see them. They're there. They're real. But God, will you help me? Because eventually I will trust in you. Not in how I feel. Not in how my circumstances are turning out. Not in the questions that I have in my head. But Lord, I'm going to turn to you. So, I hope this encourages you. Next week, part 4. See you then.